People say people making so no, I tell you, no, I tell you, now you wait. Le cockroach. The cockroach, yup. It's long. All the way from
Yeah, day's 27th. Good morning, everybody. We're about to get started. We can get everybody else in here. A few little housekeeping things. Not really sure how long the group is going to be this morning. It could be.
That's from the kitchen. Kitchen clock.
So going to go for the first hour, and then I'm going to check things out, and we may not have a second hour, but we are here for the first hour this week, and after a while, you will be getting a bulletin. I haven't.
First,
Okay,
sorry.
That's all. But we figured out day's 27. So we'll play it kind of by ear today, and we're going to see what we're going to do. This week is all about physical stuff, so we're going to be taking a look at how our doing some physical things is going to help us in our recovery. Most of us in here are pretty physical already. Most of us are kind of active, and so that's a good thing. If we're not active, we need to try to get active. And here's the deal. You don't have to become a world-class bodybuilder or anything like that. What we need to do is be more active. Well, it's just making. I think the coffee's just making. Not making. What we do need to do is just do something more than what we're doing, right? Get up, move around a little bit, walk around. One of the biggest things that doing my research that I found is, especially if you're diabetic or something like that, you have some type of issue, is every time you eat, you should get out and walk just a little bit. Walking makes your muscles contract. And more than just your legs, you contract all over your muscles, all over your body contract when you're walking. Or when you're playing like you're a chicken in group, that contracts your muscles. When your muscles contract, it burns off sugar and it burns off other things, and it's helpful for us. So we need to be doing that. One of the reasons that this is one of the four pillars of our program is that most of us, and not everybody, I know some people who are using some pretty heavy drugs, working out every day. Uh, but most of us, when we are in our addiction, what we're doing is our drug. We're worried about our drug. We're going to get our drug, how to do it, all of this kind of stuff, and we're not really concerned about our health. So once we get into recovery, one of the big things that's going to help us to stay in our recovery is to get uh, not worried about our health, but concerned about it. You know, worried means I'm scared that I'm going to have some issues. Concerned means I want to do the things that I need to do to make sure that I don't have to. So when we first get into our recovery, a lot of the times our physical health is not where it's supposed to be. So we should be trying to do a little something, something. And I want you to know that going forward this week, we're not going to be on this kind of, we're not going to be right on physical health, but we are going to talk about a couple of things like smoking cessation and stuff like that going through this week. And the reason that we do that, look, it's not because we're trying to push something down your throat, but there are two or three things that we have to, the state, HHSC, demands that we do. One of them is smoking cessation, because more people die from the use of tobacco than all other forms of death combined. And so that's a big deal. The Surgeon General said if we stop smoking, about 95% of our medical issues will disappear overnight. So, you know, it's a big deal. The other thing is HIV. We have to train that. And so those things are going to happen, and they happen with regularity, and sometimes they happen more regularly than we would like for them to. But you know, it's just the way that is. So a lot of the time in physical health, when we get into our recovery, drugs tear down our body. Drugs and alcohol tear down our body, causes our brain to shrink, and attacks every organ in your body. You know, we know that it attacks our liver. We know that it attacks our brain, but it also attacks every other cell in your body. People who use drugs and alcohol and who smoke wrinkle quicker than other people because the use of tobacco and the use of drugs and alcohol attack your skin even. Your skin is an organ. And so the use of drugs and alcohol attacks every organ in your body. There's not one organ that is safe. So it attacks your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your pancreas, your everything else, you know, that's in your body. It does it. Makes your hair go gray quicker or fall out quicker. All of those things, all of the bad things that we think about, it causes all of that. So usually when we get into recovery, our health is poor. We're disinterested and unengaged in physical health concerns. We're not usually, look, if I'm willing to stick something in my body that I know in my knower is going to kill me, I'm not too concerned with my physical health. I just want to get that feeling. I want to get that mood shift. I want to get that change in my life at that point in time. I want to change my outlook right now. So that's my super duper coping skill. That's what I want to do right now. So I'm not real concerned with my health. But so when we first get into recovery, usually our health is not in too good a shape. Poor nutrition, because we don't eat right. I know when I was using, I wasn't eating. Wasn't what I was doing, I was using. And so if I got hungry, I'd just have another beer. Or when I got good and hungry, I'd have a shot of bourbon or some cocaine. Not cocaine. Cocaine will do it too, but I would use a little bit of vodka, which is like cocaine, you know, but it would take away that hunger, because when I was drinking, I wasn't hungry at all. And at that time, I weighed about 98 pounds. So when I finally went into the military, I weighed 131 pounds. So I had gained some weight somehow or another. But poor nutrition, poor or non-existent physical activity. I wasn't doing anything much physical. I was drinking and sitting on, as I got to drink, as I got to smoking a little bit of dope, I used a pretty good bit of marijuana, and what that does is cause a thing called amotivational syndrome, which makes me not want to do anything but the drug. But I will tell y'all this, that I believe alcohol does the same thing, because all I wanted to do was use the alcohol. So I would get high or I would get drunk and then I would get sick. And and so I wasn't getting any physical activity or anything like that at all. I wasn't concerned about getting any. I didn't want to get any. And I was way into my recovery before I decided I needed to start doing a little something that would be a little bit better. See, this guy here is pretty, he's all muscled up and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I'm not doing is hydrating well. So before the group over, I want to finish that whole bottle of water. I'm going to be so proud of myself. So we're going to go over as much of this as we can during the first hour, because I'm not really certain about the second one. And I did send a query, but I got no answer. So we're going to go on like we think we know what we're doing. So here's a big deal about the use of some type of the intersection of physical activity, wellness, and recovery. There's a place where physical activity becomes a part of my recovery. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to know that that's happening. So supported by both peer review. Now, what is peer review research? That means when I go out and talk to people who have done it, people that have done it together, people who are doing it, my peers. When I go out and talk to you, we're peers because I'm an addict, you're an addict, and I go out and talk to you and I say, hey, did it help you to do any physical activity? Did it help you stay in your recovery? Because when I began to get concerned about my health and my well-being, then I stopped doing some of the stuff that I knew was bad for me. If I quit smoking because I knew smoking was bad for me. That's just not good for me. I became concerned with my physical health, and then I stopped using drugs and alcohol because they're bad for me. I started trying to eat the right things because I knew that the sugar and the junk that I was eating was bad for me. Nowadays, I don't eat as much sugar as I used to. Still do. I still slip. The other day, my wife was starving for a pizza. Pizza is not probably the worst food in the world that you can get, but my goodness, it's good. It's just terrible that all the really, really good tasting stuff is not good for you. So by peer review, just asking other people, how did you stay in your recovery, and did physical activity help you? Yes, it got me to a place where I had a little bit more self-esteem about myself. I was feeling better about who I was, because I will tell you that when I was using, I knew what I was doing to myself, and when I looked in the mirror, I didn't like that guy. I didn't like that guy at all, because I knew that he was doing stupid stuff, and I didn't like him at all. Once I got into my recovery and I began to work out a little bit and get a little bit of exercise and walk and do some stuff like that, I felt better about who I was. When I first started, I couldn't walk half a block. I'd walk half a block and just be totally done. I got to the place where at one time I was running 5 miles a day. I don't do that now, but there was a time when I was, and I felt really good, and I felt really good about myself. And when I talked to other people who were in recovery that were exercising with me and stuff, it's the same report. Did they all stay in their recovery forever? No. I know some of them who have, relapsed and gone back out and done stuff like that, but it did help. And I'm a proponent. If something will help you by 10%, then do it. And I've told y'all this analogy a lot of times, but it's good. So let me use it one more time. I'm a veteran, so I usually get about 10% off of all kinds of junk. When I go out to eat, they'll take 10% off my deal. When I go to the parts store, they'll take 10% off. And usually the 10% pays for my taxes. And that's not a much, but it's 10%. I happily and thankfully take that. So I have never said, look, wait a minute, don't take that 10% off, just forget it. I've never done that. Always take it. So if something will help me in my recovery by 10%, I'm going to take it. So if being in good shape will help me by 10%, then I'm going to do that. Supported by both peer review research and federal health guidelines, regular physical activity contributes to improved, and this is the big thing I want to focus on a little bit today, mental health. This physical, just working out, getting in good physical health, good physical condition, helps me with my mental health. That's a big, big deal. We have a lot of folks that we have a little thing that we deal with anger and stuff like that in the facility. And when they come, one of the things that they have to do, there's two things, is they begin to use positive self-talk and they exercise. And if you don't want to use positive self-talk, if you don't want to exercise, you can't come. You have to go away. Positive self-talk, I don't have to get angry every time somebody says something. I don't have to react. I can respond. I don't have to do all of those kinds. And then go and exercise at a level that the doctor says is good for you. And then move that up as appropriate. So it's good for us. It reduced rates and recurrences of using drugs as we begin to exercise and take more care of our own physical well-being. It reduces recidivism into use of the drugs. It keeps people from going back because of that pride of life that we began to feel. Say it again to me. It does also help you by putting dopamine into your brain and gives you that little bit of high that we are sometimes looking for. Sometimes that's what we're looking for. So enhance physical and psychological well-being because I feel better about myself. When I look in the mirror and I don't like the person I see, then it's hard for me to feel good about myself. The use of drugs makes me feel bad about myself. The use of exercise and physical activity makes me feel good about myself. So I can use that to counter what the drugs are doing in my life. So it's a really good thing for us to get involved in. There's a few key things we want to look at. The key benefits of physical activity. Integrating physical activity into recovery from substance use, mental health, and co-occurring conditions can yield significant benefits. This is what blew my mind when I first got to the place where I understood it, that it improves my mental health. And do you need improvement on your mental health? I did. Because look, when I was using and I looked into the mirror and I came to the understanding that I can't stop doing this, then I felt really bad about who I was. Now, I really shouldn't have got to that place because, it's a disease. We understand it to be a disease, all of that kind of stuff. But I was way down on myself because, look, I was losing jobs. I was doing all sorts of things bad, messed up my military and did all sorts of things, and I'm looking at my use of drugs and what it was doing to me, and I felt bad about me, about myself. So what did that do? That brought me to a place of low self-esteem. That brought me to a place of depression. That brought me to a place of anxiety. So I used exercise and working out and eating right and doing all of those kinds of things to bring me to a better place in my own estimation of who I was. So physical activity significantly reduces the symptoms of depression and anxiety. I talk to people all the time. What do you think biggest complaints we have as addicts trying to get sober? That's one of the biggest reasons we get back into drugs and alcohol. We get out of here. We get bored.
I said,
What was it?
don't want to quit.
Just don't want to quit. Universal triggers, all of those kinds of things, those are all true, every one of them. There's a lot of people in here not ready to quit. Lots of people not. They come through here for a break. They come through here because mama said you got to go. They come through here because the police say you got to go. The court system say you got to go. So they come through here, check that box, and then go out. And a week later, they're back where they were. And they're okay. If that's where you are, that's where you are. But if you want to get off of it for real, one of the reasons, a couple of the reasons that we get back into it is that we get out, we see what's going on. Our life is not where we want it to be, and we begin to have a little bit of sadness, and then the sadness morphs into some depression. And we get a little depressed. What will help depression better than anything?
Exercise.
Exercise. What else?
Getting around talking to people.
Whatever drugs you were on. If I'm depressed and all of that kind of stuff, and I get out there and get me a bottle of vodka, but it won't take very long before I'm feeling good about everything in the world.
Whatever mood I was in, if I kept deeper into that mood, anger, depression, happiness, didn't matter. Wherever I was in that mood, I was going deeper into that mood.
And look, when I tell you some of these things, is it always the same for everybody? No, because we are different, but we're all human. So it may affect you a little bit different than it does everybody, because there's always that one person that's an outlier, just a little bit different. When I was depressed and when I was had a lot of anxiety, that's the other thing that gets us back into the use of drugs and alcohol. That depression and that anxiety would lead me to use. It might make me more depressed because my drug of choice is alcohol and marijuana. Both of them are depressants. Both of them will lift you up and then take you down. When you get to drinking, you feel good. And then you go to sleep after a while when you keep drinking. Marijuana, same way. Feel good, but then after a while, you're going to pass out, you're going to go to sleep. It's a major depressive.
Well,
So
I feel like
that's what it's going to
there's
do.
two different strands. So indica is going to make you go down. Already, it's just going to push you down. Sativa is going to bring you up.
Yeah.
And then it'll bring you down after a while.
Yeah. Any kind of depressive drug is going to do that. It will lift you a little bit because it's working with the dopamine in your body. So when it works with the dopamine a little bit, it's going to lift you up a little bit. But it's a depressive drug, which depresses your system, which is going to cause you to drop. So it may depress you more, but the problem is that we go back to that attempting to get somewhere. So a lot of the times, if I get out there and I get a little depressed, and I guarantee you, there's anxiety everywhere. I would. When I came in, I'm in a new office now, and down the hallway there, and I plugged my computer in and everything, and it would not come up. Okay, that cause any anxiety? It can't. I've got to have it, or I can't do my job. It didn't work. Yesterday, I plugged it up and all that kind of stuff, and I tried to get on where I do the work. And used to, when you told it you wanted to go to that place, it sends you a little thing on your phone, and you had to put that code in on your phone. Well, they quit doing that. So now you got to get it on your email, and it's a little more complicated. So it took me 30 minutes yesterday to just get on that place. So that was a little anxiety inducing. Once I got there, there were several things I had to do yesterday. And today I put it up and it wouldn't do anything. And so, okay, I didn't think I was going to be able to even get anything started. Well, that may be it too, but it might be the operator as well. So I don't know. But even little simple stuff like that can cause you a little bit of anxiety. So back in the day, the way that I dealt with anxiety was vodka or marijuana, something, whatever. I did something that was my major coping skill. So if I'm out there now, when I get back out and I'm sober and the anxiety comes up or the depression comes up, then the coping skill is there. It's at just about every other street corner. There's a store that has some of my um, coping skill in it. If you're here at Beaumont, there's almost every other corner. There's some old boy standing out there that has some of the other coping skill mechanism. Or he's riding a bicycle coming through. When we were over at Avenue A, we used to have a guy ride a bicycle up there every day. He finally had to get out there and let him know, dude, don't be coming back up here. But he'd ride the bicycle. He said, well, I knew it. But it's out there and it's waiting for me to use as a coping skill. So a meta-analysis. Now, what's a meta-analysis? That means dozens of analyses. They've done lots and lots of tests and lots of analysis to try to figure out what it's going to do. Randomized controlled trials found exercise can be as effective, listen, this is important, as effective as medication in treating mild to moderate depression. Now, it's probably not going to be completely effective in treating clinical depression. But if you've got clinical depression, what should you do?
Go to the doctor.
You need to go to the doctor. You need to see your psychiatrist. You need to see the medication that they need you to do, or need you to take, and you need to exercise. Because even if you have clinical depression, and this will only help you by 5 or 10%, that's 5 or 10%. Let's get that 5 or 10%, and then get whatever else we need to get the other 90%, right? We don't want to give up something that's free and that's easy and all of that kind of stuff. So it's going to help with mild to moderate depression. Look, I don't know if you know this or not, but if I'm suffering from mild to moderate depression, that can lead me back to using my drug. If I'm just mildly depressed, I just feel today. That can lead me back to using my drug because here's the thing I know. If I go out there and use my drug, I'm not going to feel that emotion at that point in time. At least I'm not going to feel it as badly. For a moment when I take a shot, I'm okay. Everything is all right, even if everything is not all right. Y'all know how drugs. Everything it just makes me feel like everything is okay. So the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that's the folks who pay for our treatment and stuff like that, emphasizes that adults should engage into 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or physical activity per week to reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety and improve overall mental health.
How many minutes?
150 to 300. Now, how many hours is that?
60 minutes in an hour.
60 minutes in an hour. So 150 would be 2.5 hours. And then 300 would be 5 hours. Is that right? Yeah, that's 5 hours. That's a pretty good bit.
For a whole week, that bad.
It's not really, because you can go over to the gym and work out for an hour, work out for 30 minutes, something like that. And you can catch up those few minutes, pretty quickly. You can make 300 minutes pretty quickly.
Community service that week.
Say it again?
I said, I do more service that week.
Yeah, and you can, and it doesn't have to be at the gym. Community service, you can do stuff like, when we're around here, we're cleaning the building and stuff like that. That's all good exercise, and just walking around and doing stuff. That's all good exercise. It says physical activity, not working out. So working out is great, and you should continue. You should be working out. We have some few little weights out there, and we should be trying to carry those things up. We should be trying to wear them out. That's great, but we don't have to do that. We can just any kind of activity at all, walking, running, swimming, somebody said the other day, all of those things are really good. So we need to do them. Say it again.
Yeah, I guess it's cool.
Get you a pool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna build you a pool.
I
Then
got shovel.
we're gonna put it in that room, right?
No, I got a shovel out there. I do.
Yeah, we'll get a shovel, we'll get one done, yeah. So anyway, that'll help with our mental, with depression, with anxiety. It also, look, one of the big things is it will promote um, substance use recovery. And we want whatever is going to promote our substance use or substance use recovery. We want to get a hold of. Okay, that's why we do the classes. That's why we're trying to get the education. That's why we're trying to do the things in our process group and all of that. So, physical activity can help manage cravings. I've talked to some people here lately, and there's been 2 or 3 people tell me, when I've done assessments, I never had any craving. That to me is amazing. If I'd never had a craving for my drug, I've never gotten addicted. Because cravings, I gotta have it. That's my limbic system telling me, you don't do it, you're gonna die. You don't do it, you're gonna die. So you gotta have it. So I was ate up with cravings. I just needed it. My first thought in the morning after I had a little something to drink was where was I gonna get the rest of that? Was Bubba at the corner. Now it was, the liquor store. They're not open on Sunday. What am I gonna do? I was back in Mississippi. So
Talk to you a quick there.
yeah, I've done some of that too, and bootleg is not good stuff, so stay away from that. Physical activity can help us to manage those cravings. It's easier for people to sustain their recovery when you can manage the craving. And one of the reasons, just like Mr. Odell said, when I go exercise, it dumps the dopamine into my system, which is the normal, natural, moral, legal opiates that my body makes naturally. But that does give me that level of high so that I can get by. It gets me to that place. And exercise is the best way to get that. Now, there are some other ways to get that. Just a high excitement will do it. If you like jumping out of airplanes, if you're a skydiver and you go, if I take you way up there, take you up about 3,000 or 4,000 feet, you jump out, then that will cause that dopamine rush as well. Other things will do it.
I don't advise you to go skydiving. Severely depressed.
Well, if you're severely depressed, no.
Might not pull the cord.
Might not pull the cord. Although there are hooks, so we can pull the cord for you as you go out.
Yeah, that might be the best option.
But yeah, that's not something I'm into doing. I have a friend who does, he skydives all the time. He's an LCDC and he's an addict. And he packs his own chute. He keeps his chute in the back of his car. And when he's got the money saved up, he goes and rents the airplane. They'll take him up and but that's what the boy likes to do, So, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to go up in an airplane, fly around, nice weather. I don't want any crashing. I don't want any bad situations. I don't turn the airplane upside down. I don't stall it. I want to take it up, float around a little while, and then land it nicely. That's all I want to do. So, but physical activity can help you do that. It makes it easier for us to sustain our recovery if those cravings aren't kicking me in the butt all the time. We talked about the limbic system. That mesolimbic system is there to save your life. That's why we drown underwater, because it's going to make you breathe, thinking that you're just dumb enough to hold your breath. And we know we can't hold our breath until we die, because our limbic system is going to tell you you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. So breathe, and we will obey what that brain tells us to do. We're going to breathe, and we're going to die underwater. But It also tells us the same thing about our drug of choice. It will tell you if you don't use cocaine right now, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. If you don't get some vodka, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And this is why it's so hard for us. And this is why it's these folks who are normals, normies, people who are not addicts, they're normies, they don't understand. Yeah, mom, dad who are normies, they don't
Mundane.
understand.
Mundane.
Say that again.
Mundane. Mundane means like normal.
It used to be I was in a rock and roll group when I was a kid. Named it the Mundane Society. We thought that was great. It just does sound pretty good, but mundane actually means not very good. It's mundane. It's just not really good. Just not normal. It's just not all that great. It's just mundane. It's just everyday kind of kind of normal. If your everyday is just what was it?
Boring.
That kind of boring. Yeah. Just kind of mundane. Okay. So we had two songs, and so that was it because we're mundane society, and it's years later we figured out that means so so, but it will help us get to that place when that limbic system comes and says, hey, you got to use, we go instead and we do some good exercise, good walking, good running, good weight training, something like that. It's going to get us to a place where that limbic system gets a little shot of some opioids that the body is making, and it'll shut up. It'll get away from us. And when you're over there, the other thing that happens when you come out of there, you're going to feel better about yourself than when you've been in there. And so you are building your self-esteem. When my self-esteem is up here, when my self-esteem is way down here, then somebody says, hey, you want some drugs? You'll say to yourself, well, I'm not anything. I'm worthless. I'm lower than a snake's belly in a wagon rut, piece of slime, so I might, I'm not worth anything, so I might as well use drugs. But when you have your self-esteem up here and somebody says, hey, you want some of this? You say, I don't need it. I don't need that. You can, you walk with your chest stuck out, your stomach sucked in, and you do a little bit better for yourself. I don't need that. So it helps you to manage that, sustain our recovery. Exercise increases the production of neurotransmitters like Mr. Odell said, like dopamine and endorphins, which may be depleted during our substance use. Here's the deal. You remember when we were talking about getting to that place of anhedonia? We get to that place, anhedonia means I can't feel anything. I can't get excited about anything. I can't get, things don't feel good to me anymore. I get to that place where the drugs are not doing anything to me at all. Our dopamine levels have been depleted. It's destroyed everything. So I don't have any dopamine left to pop in there. So at this time, I need to do something to cause my body to build some dopamine. So that means I go do some exercise or something like that, which lets my body build some more dopamine, and then I can, again, feel good about it. And I can feel good about myself. It's a big, regular physical exercise has been shown to lead to lower rates. See, when we say lower rates, that means immediately not all of them. There's always outliers. Not everybody does their work for it. But it has led to lower rates of turning to problematic substance use. And what is problematic substance use? For us, it's any use. For me, it's anything. If I go get me a nice little joint, sit out on my back porch and watch the rabbits run, and it ain't going to be long, I'm going to be looking for Bubba. Or get me a bottle of vodka and watch the squirrels try to kill one another. Have y'all ever watched squirrels will fight like crazy? They are nuts.
Yeah, watch more time.
They'll beat the snot out of each other, And you know, I've got squirrels all over my place, and then we have rabbits and all of that stuff. But I won't, you know, if I sit out there and drink that stuff, then that's not going to be the end of that. I'm going to go buy some more. I never, and always told myself when I was doing it, I'm going to buy. This is the last one. It's like moon pie. I'm going to eat this one more moon pie because they got them on sale for 49 cents. And what kind of person would I be if I didn't buy a 49-cent moon pie? Right? I mean, they're usually $1.89, but now they're 49 cents at market. I want to eat me one of these chocolate moon pies. And then when you go by the moon pie place, you figure out you got $2 in your pocket. What does that mean?
Buy 4.
Well, you can only buy 3. There's taste, tax, and all of that stuff. So, you know, 49 cents, you know, but you can get 3 of them, and okay, that I'm only going to eat one today. That work? Of course not. I'm going to eat that one. And then I'm going to talk to myself. I talk to myself all the time, and I'm going to say, look, that thing wasn't even big enough. That's a little old bitty moon pie, and that thing ain't made out of nothing. That little. So I'm going to eat the second one. And before I get home, there's going to be 3 packages laying on the floor down there that I'm figuring out where can I throw those, because I can't let my wife figure it out. I eat 3 moon pies. So it helps us, it keeps us, lowers the rates of returning to problematic substance use for people in recovery from substance use disorder. So in order for me to stay, look, we say this carefully. In order for me to stay in my recovery, do I have to exercise or have some physical activity? No. No. But it helps. It helps. So whatever helps, I need to do. Right? So if it's going to help me, I need to do that. I'm thinking, now y'all don't panic because it's not up to me, but I'm thinking that a recovery program like this one should have a lot of exercise equipment, and it should be part of the program. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And look, Ken, we're working on it. Mr. Farmer's brilliant. He knows that we need to have that. And that room, after a while, it's going to be one. I don't know at this point what's going to be in there. I'm thinking most of it's going to be for entertainment purposes, and that's okay too. We need that as well, right? We need some stuff to keep us from being bored. You know, boredom is terrible, and sometimes these groups are a little bit boring if that's all we do. But when that comes, it's going to be something to keep us a little more entertained. But we're also looking at something for physical activity. Like we're talking about that exercise thing. And I'm going to get back with him because we just kind of talked about it a little bit, but I don't want to put it in there. I prefer to put it outside. The only problem,
Nice in there.
I don't know what he's going to put in there. But that would be nice. But the only issue with that is I don't know about putting it out in the weather because they're rust and, you know, we don't want that either. So anyway, it helps us from that. Physical activity serves, now listen, it serves as a healthy coping mechanism from stress and can reduce reliance on the substance. One of the reasons I was using was stress. Yes.
Let's jump backwards real quick.
Okay.
One statement. Got those pop-ups at Walmart, about $120. They cover that whole slab. And then stake it in the grass. I'm good with it.
Yeah, and you know, and something like that. That's something we would need to do. So that's very, very helpful. So it's going to promote substance use recovery. Anything, look, if we're really serious about our recovery, I'm serious about my recovery. I remember where I was. I don't want to go back. I'm not going back. I don't want to. Somebody asked me not too long ago that, you know, what if your wife dies? You know, you've been married for 53 years. What if your wife dies? Can I tell you a secret? Don't tell anybody this. It's a secret. My wife's gonna die. Yeah, so am I. So are you. You know, death is a part of life. You know, that's gonna happen. So, I've already thought about those things. I don't know, I'm 72 and a half, she's 71. I don't know which one of us will pass away and go home to be with the Lord Jesus first, but one of us will, and the other is going to have to deal with the loss. And I'm not going to deal with the loss by getting drunk or high. I had a guy in my program, gosh, this must have been 30 years ago, and he had like 12 DWIs. It was a huge number. And I was wondering how on earth you stay out of prison. Because in Texas, you get 3 of them, maybe 4, you're going to go to state jail. Or 5, you can go to state jail. But he was a very wealthy person. He had a couple of lawyers, and his DWIs were in different states. And there was a day that he got most of them on about the same day. His wife had died. She was fairly young, in her 40s somewhere, and she had died in his arms. And so on that day, every year, he got drunk as a skunk and went for a drive. And he got so drunk that it was guaranteed he was going to get a DWI because he couldn't operate his car at all. When I got my DWIs, I was doing pretty well. I was driving pretty well. And the guy stopped me because there was a tail light out. Another one, I got stuck in the mud, and I couldn't get that. And I tore my transmission up, going back and forth trying to get the car out. Transmission blew up, and But this guy, he pulled out of his driveway and run off into somebody else's driveway or something, and he just, they'd come and get him, all of that stuff. And I'm thinking, what a wonderful way to honor the memory of your dearly departed by getting drunk, getting the DWI every year on the anniversary of her death. So I'm not going to be doing that. I've already made up my mind that when my wife dies, then I'm going to honor her and she wants to be cremated. So I'm going to cremate her. Then I'm going to make a big old pot of chili and sprinkle her ashes in that chili and feed it to all those old ladies at church. That way she's still doing something good for people. She's feeding people, so that would be a good thing. I don't know what she's doing. Yeah. I don't know what she's going to do with me. Well, you wouldn't be one of the old ladies at the church. So, but here's the other thing that it does that's really important for us. It enhances cognitive function. What is cognitive function? Thinking. I can think better. It helps me to think. I can think. As you get a little bit older, sometimes, not everybody, but sometimes your cognitive ability lessens a little bit, but that's not for everybody, and it's not always an age thing. I know people who are 90 years old that are more cognitively there than people who are a whole lot less than that. But exercise continues to help you with your cognitive functioning, with your thinking abilities. We already talked about earlier last week or sometimes about how if you use resistance training, I didn't go at all last week because I hurt my elbow over here, and man, it's really bad. But if you do resistance training, it helps your bones continue to grow. Now, your bones don't get bigger, but the inside of your bones will go away as you get older, but they will rebuild themselves if you do resistance training. It will keep you strong. You're not going to break your hip, and you're not going to fall down and break your legs and all that kind of stuff, which is a malady that a lot of older people have to suffer with. And I'm sure y'all know people that's happened to just because they get older.
Hey Doc, my elbow hurts. You could have still got that treadmill did leg day.
You're entirely correct, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. No, you're right. I should have gone over there and done some of that. I did not. A lot of stuff going on. Didn't do it. But it enhances, look, two things. It enhances our cognitive function and well-being. Well-being means I'm thinking better about myself. I'm feeling better about myself. And I can pay attention in group better, all that. Exercise can improve cognitive functions. Now, here's the functions we're talking about. Cognitive functions like memory, attention. Now, I don't believe any of you have a real memory issue, but some of you have an attention span that's not all that long, not an hour long. And executive functioning. Now, what's executive functioning? Executive functioning. Yeah, and when it comes to thinking, that's like making the right decisions, stuff like that. Whether or not you're going to go do that, you know that's going to be dangerous, or you're going to do that. A good executive, decision would be no, that's a bit dangerous. I'm not going to do that. Or yes, I can do it without it killing me, so I want to go do that. So that's what that is. This may be particularly beneficial for people who are in or seeking recovery from a substance abuse disorder. Some substances can impair all of those. And look, just about every substance that we use is going to impair a lot of those things. If we use cocaine, it's going to really mess up some of our cognitive functioning. If we use marijuana, it's going to mess it up. There's almost everything alcohol will. So, regular physical activity has been shown to lower the rates of chronic disease like heart disease, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. So you need to be exercising. Yeah, and I need to be exercising. But look, does that always work, and does it take care of all of those things? No, I exercise normally. I didn't do too well this past week, but normally I exercise 3 times a week at least, sometimes 4 times. And, I go work out fairly heavily, and, I thoroughly enjoy doing that and all of that. But I have cardiovascular disease. I have 4 stents in the artery going to my heart. I have type 2 diabetes. So, because my diet is crap, I eat the wrong stuff. So, exercise is not a cure-all, it is a help-all, right? It's not going to cure everything, but I'm going to guarantee you when I talked to my cardiologist the other day, about a month or 2 ago, after I had the stent put in there, they made me just kind of not do anything for a couple of weeks. And then she said, well, you need to go back to exercising. I said, well, I lift weights and stuff like that. She said, that's great. So if I'll work out real hard, she said, that's fantastic. Go back to doing that. So, okay. So they want me to do that, even though I've got all these stents and everything. So you don't have them. It's really good for you to do that because it can head that off. It's not necessarily an end-all that it's going to do that, but it's not going to be bad for you. Now look, I didn't ask y'all, but did we get a sign-in sheet going around? And Miss Casey, could you grab us a couple of sign-in sheets over there if you don't mind? We're not allowed to get in the thing. We'll get beat up. Need a TAP and an HHSC. I'll sign in on the right one. Do that over at North too. I know y'all probably already got y'all. So thank you for that. So it's going to do that for us. This may be particularly beneficial for us. Regular physical activity has been shown to lower rates of chronic diseases, all of that. The National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, supports including physical activity and treatment programs because of the role exercise plays enhancing brain functions and supporting neuroplasticity. Now, where is Mr. Rain when you need him? Anybody know what neuroplasticity is?
Has something to do with the brain and connection, something like that.
Yeah, neuroplasticity is well, your brain is plastic, not plastic. It'll move and stuff. You know, it has plasticity, which means your brain can move and all of this kind of stuff. And as you learn things, it can move and grow. Your brain, if you took it out and opened it up, from all of the wrinkles and stuff on your brain, you'd probably feel that whole table up there because that's how it grows and stays inside your head instead of leaking out your ears. So neuroplasticity means that your brain can still absorb your information and stuff like that. So exercise helps your brain stay active and have some good plasticity so that it can still take in some good stuff. So we need to do that. And neuroplasticity, look, is crucial for recovery. Our brains need to continue to work. Here's the deal. If you've been using alcohol for over 20 years, if you've been using drugs for over 20 years, your brain has suffered some shrinkage. Your brain can shrink up to 20% of its normal size from the use of alcohol and drugs. It's just going to shrink. So you can't think as well. You can't be as cognitive as you were before you started using. So exercise helps to get that. I've had dozens of people ask me, will my brain come back if I quit using? Will it? No. You're going to have that wet brain syndrome for the rest of your life. But if we exercise them, then it's going to help neuroplasticity to happen in what's left, and it will grow back out to some extent. You may only get 5-10% of it back, but that's 5 or 10%. We've been talking forever about let's get the 5 or 10% back. Yes, sir.
Well, they say we only use percentage for brain anyways, right? That's the other.
Say that again.
They say we only use percentage for brain anyways, right?
Well, that's a good point. Yes, sir. That's what they say. We don't use all of our brain. We only use about 10 or 20% of our brain. But as that brain shrinks, the part that we're using is shrinking as well. So
That's been proven to be fake, or not true. You use your whole brain.
So he
The
said
left
you
side of your brain controls the right side of your body.
Yeah.
The right side of your brain controls the left side.
It does.
So you're using your whole brain. To say that we don't use the 10%, that's just saying people aren't fucking themselves.
What's the language?
I didn't go to school to it, but I did do some studying on it. Because I've had the same thought.
I hope so.
We have some capacity of our brain.
Yeah, I mean, as far as percentage, that's what we do think with. So I know our brains use the rest of our brains still using other things like essential services.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a study on that
Are
because
you looking it up now?
we actually have 3 brains.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it say on there what percentage of the brain is used?
You said you got 5, 6.
All right, then, look. The AMA says this, yet humans use their entire brain, not just 10%. Brain imaging technologies like MRI and PET scans demonstrate that all brain areas are active over the course of a day, even during sleep. While not every single neuron is firing simultaneously, which could be a seizure, no part of the brain is unused or unnecessary. So, let me read that part. The 10% myth likely originated from early misunderstanding and studies from the fact that neurons are only about 10% of the total brain cells, with the rest being different types of cells. So, Odell was correct, I guess. Who, 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 who would have guessed it? You know, not really. Mr. Odell's pretty smart fellow, so he's taking Mr. Rain's spot. So, thank you, sir. And yeah, I'm gonna research that a little bit more because I've always heard that. I've never really been way interested in it because what portion of my brain I use has been I don't know. But so anyway, let's take our break. We'll be back in at about 15 after, and I'm gonna find out between now and then if we're gonna have the rest.
Are you ready to spice that? Getting ready to start. And it's a first game. Okay, you go. Okay, shot. Over the shot, right over the big triple back for Emily. To 8 point and 11 points now into the lead.
Hey, Evan.
Yeah.
Come here, man. I thought you just swept him off the hallway.
County's going to get possession. It's going to be
What does this mean?
to find out who got the last touch. Jordan with the Amate. With 44 left in this quarter.
I don't know. I don't think he's up there yet.
Six-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves have won 2 straight games to take a 2-1 lead over Nikola Jokic and Denver Nuggets. Jokic and company look to bounce back. This will be pickup action in the first chance. Tough moment here. Suffers a non-contact injury on display. Immediately called to the for ESPN. Is reported that it's a torn Achilles tendon. The updates on Jokic. Well, Jokic. Possibly not. He got dropped 24, bounced 9 assists. It's Randall on top, tries to get inside. Gets it to a wide open. I assume got a team alert. I was playing this game. Minnesota up 11-8. Only finds Nas Reed. Reed drives to the paint, rises up, stuff. Look at Reed. Just explodes along the baseline. Minnesota up 20. Nice bounce pass to Tim Hardaway. Tucker took a whole good lead on that pass. Low scoring affair the first game. Now second now. Aaron Gordon with this game. Big block there. Nuggets recover the board. Tim Hardaway a long outlet pass for trailing Jamal Murray. Denver up by 3 after that wild game play. Anthony Edwards, a couple of defensive plays, but lands awkwardly on his feet and sending to want to stick and stay. Then he had comprehension his position, left the game, and did not return. Denver up 54-50 at the half in the third, trying to take advantage of an weekend Minnesota team. But Rudy Gobert plays an excellent defense on the goal of Jokic. And the next play, the ball moved around and Subu is the game-time three. Back his name, the Subu. Beach Joy and boy, the Timberwolves are feeling some joy when he's knocking down shots. Jokic gets it to Hardaway Jr. on the cut for the and one bucket. He takes it for Denver up by 1. Guess who? Joy is back again, walking into a rhythm of 3. Nails it. Denver, though, up 71-68, still a possession game. You go there. It's a little lazy pass. Sulu comes up with it, lays it in on the fast break. Watch it again. Denver's lead is down to 1 now. Offense going multiple turnovers. Feasting on defense. I'm going to take 10 turnovers in this one. Time that's still on Jokic. Randall Dunk. Then Mike Conley over to Jake McDaniels. Leading to another DeSumo basket. How about Rudy Gobert? Giving Jokic a hit on the paint. Later, Nas Reed drives an inside shot. Rudy Gobert definitely looks back, bucket. Jokic, frustrated. Just can't seem to stop the Minnesota big man who had 2 rebounds in the game. Jamal Murray, Trent Smith gets a running 3-pointer, but Minnesota still up by 9 after this bucket. Then Murray again drives inside, brings up a high arcing floater that banks in for 2. He had 30 in the game. That cuts the lead down to 7. But it's that guy off the bench, DeSumo, going right at Murray, barreling over the layup there, and he wouldn't stop DeSumo. After this one was back for more. He's 5 for 5. 3 DeSumo, a career high 43 points. That's the second highest playoff bench total in NBA history, just behind downtown.
Man, what a game, man.
Well, my phone up. All I hear is fucking an hour of his own issue. It's not. Said you are going to be here in the morning and from the kids off of school.
A Saturday evening in Minneapolis was a nice calm spring evening on the outside, but inside the Target Center it is loud and rough.
That'd be here. Well, they drive.
And he's very funny. Like, the first thing I did after I said, "All right, shoot a 3." He was like, "Nah, it's cash." So just having that energy, that's great to be around. And he's very funny. Like, the first thing I did after I said, "Brody, did you shoot a 3?" He was like, "Nah, it's cash." So just have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was like, hey, Mom, get on my
Subaru Giant, early on half. Comes Clark. And what's the pass in the corner? The Subaru. Touchdown, 3. And initially has been got. The Subaru. No hesitation. Touchdown.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, what?
Oh, what?
Look at that. Oh. See that old scat right there? Yeah,
What is it? Bubble butt.
the black chick.
Yeah. Bubble butt. Bubble,
Where is
bubble,
it?
bubble butt.
She don't look black. She might be.
Bubble butt. Bubble, bubble, bubble.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, man.
This is
Hey, why does it like a knockoff skull?
Oh, yeah. Now I can't
No. Does he have Richie's, you know? It's like oh, man.
Back chair.
South Philadelphia. 1776. 672. Since Southbridge are I would rather have the big fella on the shots a huge target for the Sixers. See the score. Sends out 3-1 with the Celtics win tonight. History says series over. Josh Tibbetts is our head chief. Quincy also. You look at this Philly team on the floor. It's a good team. It's a good team. They just haven't together much. They bring it together on a fair notice. White works inside. Kida. 2 looks. Scratch it inside. Tibbetts. Down 2. Clock at 8. Squad.
One rebound.
Into my George. If it's a good play, there's 1-2. Second time. Everyone's in. Working at me over 2-man games. And being
Playoffs. Biggest playoffs right now?
Oh,
Playoffs? Yeah.
this old from last night.
Yeah, see
Last night.
the only one Celtics. Say a lot. 14-point game, 2. In a tight game 3.
let me see.
3-4. Slide. 7 slot. Do it again.
Something's good. And 12-3, 10 days out.
Hey, you remember Jerry Stackhouse? Jerry Stackhouse?
I was
wondering. I seen the 76. I stumbled in basketball, man.
Shatterman at 3-3. Celtics. Now we get to see action. The NBA. We need to. NBA drop. 6.5. So good again. Is he going to do it again? Is he going to do it again?
What is it?
Shattered it off. Starting to 4 teams. Brown tries to change it. There you go. On the back, 6 to shoot. Sure. Who would dribble back? To one of those performing four steps. Projects it from the heads to the locker room. Inside. Charlotte to the right. To take it. Oh. Bowser works it up.
It's cool.
Damn.
Did you just say that?
On screen. Drives.
What? Missing.
My guy, Manor, He's got 10 points lead Philly.
When you hit those threes, out of lose.
10 teams under 12 hit. Team feels right. As you feel it, the way teams shoot the 3 ball. So you got it.
Pretty good. We can win it 6-7.
In refrigerator and the furnace down says, how did you take me some out there?
Water.
Team. Guy who leads it in scoring in Chinese matches. 58 scored the league, 21-29, 31 into the first leg to the series. See, filled up, starts that in. Take it. Move around the yard. He's 70 years to match that with the
Never did find the sign-in sheets. All right, we're going to get started back. We're not going to be here a long time. We do have a meeting, but it doesn't start at 10:30 like I thought it did. So we're going to get this finished and then we'll get out of here quickly. I don't know where everybody's at, so somebody want to share with those guys that we got to start back up here real quick. And then after the meeting's over with, ladies, I'll be over to pick up the sign-in sheets there.
After the meeting over what?
Oh, I was talking to the ladies.
Oh.
I will be over there to pick up the sign-in sheets. I still don't know what happened to the sign-in sheets. Miss Casey did. Okay. We're going to go through this, the second half of this pretty quickly. I do have a thing I have to do. So, a couple of more things that physical activity does. Look, some of the things that physical activity is that does for us and helps us with, it's a little bit surprising, but you know, if we give it an opportunity to do it, it does do it. One of the things is social support. You know, we went over Maslow's hierarchy of needs the other day, and one of the things that we need as human beings is other human beings. So we have a need for people in our lives, and so one of the things that physical activity can do is to cause us to have some physical activity that's around other people. If you go over here to the gym, I will tell you that the gym is full of people most of the time. This one over here is not overly crowded, which is a good thing, but it does have people in it. I ran into a guy that I used to work with over there the other day, and we had a nice little time together. So, group physical activity, if you're going to play basketball or football or something like that, such as any kind of team sports or exercise classes, they do have exercise classes over here. You can go and just get into a class. That will put you in touch with other people. And one of the things that we need to do is be in touch with other people who are healthy. Now, let me share this with you, that people who are using drugs and alcohol, we don't consider healthy people. I do know some people who are muscled up and all of that stuff, and they're using steroids and stuff like that. We don't consider that a healthy activity. It's not healthy for them to be, even if they're getting bigger and stuff, it's not healthy to put that in your body. So if you have people in your life that are doing stuff like that, they're not healthy people, and we need to stay away from them. But most of the people who are working out in the gym or in exercise classes or something like that are not using illegal drugs. They're not using drugs that are given to them by the doctor a whole lot. They're using the ones that they need. They're using the maintenance drugs that they're usually going to be using something that's not a maintenance drug. I'm talking about opioids, stuff like that, painkillers. They're not usually using that. Of course, there's always that outlier. You know, there's always people like that. So group activities are going to help that. It fosters social connections. It builds supportive networks that are critical for sustaining recovery. We've talked about this probably 1,000 times. This is not something we want to do on our own. Can you do it on your own? Have there ever been people who've done it on their own? Of course, there's been people, you know, and there probably will be people. But, you know, it's not one of those things that we want to be trying to do on our own. So we need to have other people in our life. It is critical to have other people like our sponsor, sober support people, or people that we're playing basketball with. People, and I noticed that you guys go out here, grab the basketball. There's usually more than one. A couple of guys go out there and start chucking the basketball. So it is really imperative that we have some of these positive other people in our lives. It's going to help. And this physical activity is one of the things that helps with that. We can go into that situation where there's other people around us that are healthy. that are really wanting to be into their recovery. If they're in recovery, there's people there that are not in recovery that don't have to be in recovery. Normies work out too. A lot of normies that work out where I work out. Now, I go to a gym in Anahuac. Used to go to a gym in Anahuac. Had a guy there that had lost like 300 pounds just working out. And it's amazing. An amazing thing. But he's a normie. He's never had a problem with drugs and alcohol, but he's working out and just doing great things. Data suggests the integration of physical activity into clinical treatment for people with co-occurring conditions result in much better outcomes. The programs that have a physical portion in them, the people stay in recovery longer than those that don't have a physical portion. That's not the word, but a physical part of it. So it's better for us. Look, here's the deal. It's not guaranteed that if you go over to the gym every day that you're going to be able to stay in your recovery. But it is guaranteed that you're going to get a little bit more of a push. And so every little bit that we can, going to AA group, that's going to give us a little something. Going to our therapist, that's going to give us a little something. Having a sober support system, that's going to give us a little something. Working out regularly, getting some physical activity, and being connected with other sober people, that's going to give us a little something. So when we put all the little somethings together, then it's going to work out to be something that's helpful to us. So, maybe I'll stay in my recovery if I got all of these things together, put them all together. And then, that's going to build up here. If I get 5 or 10% from each one of these, maybe they'll build up to 90 or 95%, and it'll be something that'll keep me sober. So here's the other thing, this is important, is that physical activity, and it's, again, and I know I've said this, but, at the danger of repeating myself, let me say that some of this stuff surprises me, that just getting active, God made us to be active. You know that because when you go and you work your muscles, they grow. You rip that muscle, and as it grows, as it recovers, it gets bigger. So that's how we know we're meant to have physical activity. So you were meant to have physical activity. Folks who don't have physical activity or some type in their life are not in as good a place as those who do. So it helps us with the management of co-occurring disorders. What's a co-occurring disorder?
Reoccurring?
No, co-occurring. A co-occurring disorder.
That disorder that occurs over something else.
That's true. That's true. When we are addicted and we have another diagnosis, when you go and you're diagnosed with schizophrenia, or you're diagnosed with bipolarism, or you're diagnosed with ADHD, or whatever that you're diagnosed with, if you're also diagnosed with addiction, then you're co-occurring. One of your diagnoses has to be addiction. So it's not, if you have bipolar and schizophrenia, then you have two separate diagnoses. That's bipolarism, schizophrenia. But if you have bipolarism and you're addicted to cocaine, that's co-occurring. One is occurring. Yeah. So you have two of them. And it is, we've studied, we have tried to treat the mental health issue, then treat the addiction issue, and then some time ago we came to the conclusion that the best way to treat both of those is to treat them together, because addiction is a mental health disorder. And if you look in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, it tells you can find addiction in there. That's where we get the diagnosis of addiction from. So it is a mental disorder. So those two together. So this just working out, just doing some exercise, just getting some physical activity will help you with co-occurring conditions. Physical activity provides significant benefits for people with co-occurring mental health and substance use disorders by improving both physical and mental health. Remember, we talked a little bit about the fact that if we work out well, that it will help us with depression, anxiety, so all those sorts of things. So this is going to help us with our physical problems. It's also going to help us with our mental issues. So working out should be a huge part of our treatment program. And I think that's something that should be in every treatment program. Has anybody ever been in a treatment program where that was part of the treatment? I've never seen it. I have never seen it. I've been in a whole bunches of them, and I've never seen one who did that.
I've never seen one in Texas. Where I was at Washington with Nora. Never heard of Nora?
No, I've never heard of Nora.
Something Nora has to do with Native Americans. I had a friend by Nora, and they had a swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, and weight room, and it was a bunch of holistic medicine. They had stone therapy, they had acupuncture therapy, they had sweat lodges, like a sweat ritual.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's got part of all the treatment.
I think that is pretty cool. I don't know that I would do all of that, but I do know that I would like to see a program where we had a workout like we did in the military. You get up in the morning, go do calisthenics, and then you go through your day, and then in the afternoon you do calisthenics. Something to keep us moving and doing stuff like that. So I think that's part of it. Data suggests that physical activity is going to help us with that. And then we're gonna put a little thing today. I really appreciate you guys. Y'all did really well, paying attention and all of that. For the most part, there's a couple of people that had something that didn't work out. They got that. But the following recommendations are for the practical inclusion of physical activity. Anytime we begin to do some physical activity or something like that, we need to make sure that we are on a level where we can do it well. We don't want to go out there and start just tearing ourselves up, because when you exercise, if you haven't exercised in a long time and you go exercise, then you're going to get sore. And, you can get sore to the point where you can't function. So you need to be careful about that. You want to put that, for those who are in or may be in seeking recovery, here's some of the things. Start off gradually. Don't go out there and try to be, Schwarzenegger or one of those guys. Just start off gradually. Begin with low intensity exercises. Gradually increase intensity and duration to ensure long-term adherence. If you get out there and you overdo it, the first couple of times you won't be going back. You won't go back. If you go and you hurt yourself, it's easy to get tennis elbow. It's easy to get. There's another one, bowler's elbow. One is on this side, tennis elbow on this side, bowler's elbow on this side. Either one of them pretty easy to get from stuff like that. Get out there and hurt yourself. You won't want to go back. And it's important for us to continue to do this over a period of time. This should be a lifelong pursuit. It should be something that we do for the rest of our life. Because remember, as we get older, doing the resistance training helps to build our bones to a place where they're not going to break. So we need to start doing it. Incorporate variety. That's something else that's important. If you do the same thing every time, then pretty soon you're going to get bored with it. You're awesome. incorporate a combination of aerobic, strength, flexibility exercises, maintains interest in it, maximizes what benefits you're going to get out of it. And one of the biggest things, I really do enjoy playing with the weights over there. I enjoy lifting weights and fooling around with that. I just enjoy it. And so make sure that whatever you do, you enjoy. I watch you guys play basketball out there, and I know that you're enjoying what you're doing. So, if it's not enjoyable, you're not probably going to continue to do it for a very long period of time, right? So it needs to be something that you like to do. Find something that's very enjoyable, something that you really like to do, and then continue to do that. Figure out how to get better at it, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to be good for you. Choosing enjoyable activities increases all the motivation and the likelihood of maintaining an active lifestyle. Look, just going out there and doing it once is not good enough. If you go out here and do some side straddle hops, or you do some push-ups, or you run around the building 4 times, that's good. Do that. But if you only do it that one time, that's worthless. If you don't do it at least 3 times a week, it's not helpful. And I've had people ask me, well, what if I can only do it once a week? Well, then do it once a week, because when the AMA says you have to do it 3 times a week in order for it to be healthy for you, they shouldn't really word it that way, because if all you can do is one push-up, my God, do one push-up. Any little something helps, right? So whatever you can do, you do that and begin at that minimal level and then build up to something better. But doing it once is do it. If that's all you're ever going to do. But if that's all you're ever going to do, it's not going to be all that healthy for you, right? You need to exercise at some level every day if you can. If you can, at the very least 3 times a week. That's why I go 3 times a week, because I want whatever I do to be healthy for me. So I go over and do what I can. Sometimes I do more than others, but sometimes I don't do all that at all. So here's another thing that you really should consider doing. There's some things that you can do. Walking, you have to do walking anyway. Walk around the building, walk out there with your shoes on, and check, see what's in the grass. If there's snakes and alligators, and if there's big old spikes sticking in the grass and stuff, get that out of there. But then take your shoes off and walk a little bit in the grass and stuff, barefooted, because there is something to that saying that you are connected to the earth. And so it's a good thing for you to walk barefooted down there. But consult with a medical professional. If you have any concerns for starting or during physical exercising, if you think it's not going to work for you, if you think it's going to be bad for you think you might hurt yourself, go talk to your doctor. And I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of doctors, and I talk to them a lot. And one of the things they're going to tell you is start some type of physical activity. So, have a cardiologist, an endocrinologist, a GP, every one of them. Are you exercising? Are you drinking enough water and exercising? So, yeah. But go and talk to them. Let them know what you're planning. They will give you a physical and tell you you're not healthy enough to do this, but you can do that. So go and talk to them. So including those related to other health problems or symptoms that you might have, consult your medical professional. I need to have PCP. Now, we started out, we said that data suggests that physical activity can play an important role in our recovery and in our wellness journey. People who exercise on a daily basis will live longer, usually, although the guy that came up with the jogging craze, don't know how he died. Jogging. He was jogging down the road, jogging fell over with a heart attack. So, it's not always true. Everything has an outlier. Not always true. But it does help us. Benefits include a better mood. Some people in a bad mood all the time. If you exercise, it will help your mood. It'll help us get out of being in a bad mood all the time. I'm not in a bad mood all the time. I'm in a bad mood sometimes. But I'm not in a bad mood all the time. But this will help if we are like that. It's us in a better mood. It's helps with cognitive improvement. Do you think we might need some cognitive improvement? Our thinking improved a bit? Yeah, I do. You know, I need some cognitive improvement. Preventing recurrences helps me not to relapse. Helps me not to do it. Look, it'll help you on anything. When I'm thinking of having a moon pie, if I go work out, that thought leaves my realm. It just gets out of there. I'm not thinking about a moon pie right now. I'm thinking about a chicken breast. So that's a little bit better mood. Making it a valuable component of recovery pathways and services. This should be a part of everybody's recovery plan. I'm going to do something, and when I get that something figured out, I'm going to do more of it. I don't necessarily have to go work out, but I do necessarily have to go. Get outside and walk around. I need to do something, all of those kinds of things. So, these are federal guidelines and all of that stuff that we talked about. So they've been researched, and they know that it's going to be helpful for us to do that. So, anybody have any questions, comments, or snide remarks? Not a one? Yes. No? Everybody all right? I do appreciate y'all paying attention. You did well today, and I will be over there after a while. We're quitting a little early. I do know that, but I have